This debate is about the new constitution. In this debate, the liberals, socialists and the leader of the workers will participate. First the socialists will speak, followed by the liberals and then the leader of the workers. After that they will respond to each other and at the end I will announce the winner of the debate. Socialism is a movement that advocated equality above all. Liberalism is the movement that aims for freedom for the individual, every single person, in all aspects. The leader of the worker wants better working conditions, better wages, and he wants to ban child labor.
We socialists think that everybody is equal and therefore has to be treated equally. All people deserve a fair share of resources of the world. This shared ownership means that everyone, in practice, has the right to play a part in decisions on how resources will be used. Nobody can take personal control on something, and that is what we want. It is not fair that only one person can have a lot of power. A democracy is acquired for socialism because everybody can participate in the social decisions that will affect themselves. One of the most important decisions is about the fair share of the means of production. This is everything we need to produce. What do we need for this? Well, we need factories and machines, but also raw materials, like iron ore and cotton. Oil and coal is also needed for the means of production to power the machines. For all these means of production, a large amount of money is needed, a capital. Ships and trains are also needed to transport the raw materials and products. There are agricultural products too. These products require agricultural tools and machinery, and also land. As you probably noticed, a lot is related to the means of production. The means of production should belong to everyone. Workers will elect representatives to a local and national council of their industry or service in socialism. They will also elect the people who are going to a central congress. This congress will plan production in areas of the economy. The people that are elected to the socialist government will be immediately responsible. However, the people who elected them can remove them at any time. Such a system can only be provided in a democracy where people live in freedom. Socialism means an end to economic insecurity and exploitation. There will no longer be people who have to work with tools that belong to someone else. It means a chance to develop abilities in a free community. It means a classless society that promises you democratic rights for all workers.
As liberal, I think that the new constitution should include a law that the government should only have very few tasks. I think the government should protect all inhabitants from external enemies. The government should keep the peace and safety in the country. The government should carry the public works out, and that the government should ensure the human rights of the country. This will benefit everyone if there is complete freedom. This means that the power should not rest with the king, but with a parliament. Citizens must be able to elect the parliament. This can only be done if more people get the right to vote, except for workers, women and peasants, because I personally think that they don't understand politics. When there is complete freedom, everyone can be free to practice his or her religion. The state can be allowed to concern itself with religions. People should be free to choose their own education. They should learn how to read and write. There should not only be freedom of education, but also of expression. I think that people can say or write what they want. Therefore, I'm against censorship. Then I come to my fifth form of freedom, which is about the study of researchers. They must be free to study what they want. Slavery should also be abolished, because everyone should have personal freedom. I also want to abolish all the restrictive rules. Then all the people that doesn't have to work will maybe get wealth, both for workers as well for the manufacturers. I believe that it's normal that not everyone has the same incomes. If everyone would earn the same, everyone won't do their best anymore. But I do think that hard work causes wealth, and that the poor people must have the opportunity to get wealth, so to get work. I think that when the government doesn't impose unhelpful regulations, trade and industry can improve. The new constitution should also include freedom of trade, freedom of labor, and freedom of production. I think these things should definitely be included in the new constitution.
Cool.
I am the leader of the workers, and I think some things should be different. We work in very bad conditions. We have very long working days, sometimes even up to 14 hours a day, and our wages are very low. The factory owners are only looking for profit, so our wages will never increase. Because the days are so tough, many workers get the disease, but they still have to work. The big machines in the factory are often controlled by inexperienced workers, and this even leads to death. Once a month there is a check by a man who works for the government. Most of the time he gets paid by the factory owner, and in the report he makes, he doesn't say anything about the bad conditions. These things have to be improved in the new constitution. First, the days have to be much shorter, and the limit can be 9 hours a day. The factory owner has to do something about the conditions, or give us protection against it. If a worker gets sick, they can stay home and recover till they are fit enough to start working again. The machines have to be controlled by an experienced worker, and the people from the government have to give a fine to the factory owner when they discover that there are bad conditions in the factory. The worst thing is the child labor. I can't stand it to see the children working in these terrible conditions. The children start working at the age of 4. They do the easy tasks in the factory. The children can't stand the bad conditions and often die at a very early age. Because of the bad air and conditions in the factory, women who were pregnant often got miscarriages. The children get less than the half of the wages of the adults, and sometimes they even don't get paid. If the children don't do their job well, they get punished. I don't want that the wages will get higher or the days shorter. I just want that child labor gets banned. I think workers above 18 also have to have the right to vote. If we have the right to vote, we can vote on the political parties that support the better conditions and better wages and to ban child labor.
Now we will hear the responses.
At first, I want to respond to the leader of the workers. I agree with the leader of the workers. I agree that the working days have to be much shorter, because it's unbearable to have such long working hours. Also, as you said, leader, the conditions have to get much better, because there are lots of people getting sick. Actually, this is also a disadvantage for the owner of the factory, because if he doesn't let people go home until they are better again, the sick will infect each other and eventually maybe die. And then child labor. When I hear the word, I already grimace. Children who die at a very early age, that is terrible. They should go to school so that they can learn and be a teacher, a doctor or else. Child labor definitely have to be banned. Overall, I agree with the leader of the workers. Then I want to respond to the liberalism. With some things I agree, but with some things I don't. For example, I don't agree with the fact that women, peasants and workers shouldn't have the right to vote. Why won't they understand politics? They also have an opinion. I also don't agree with your opinion about incomes. I don't think that people should have different incomes. You definitely haven't read Das Kapital from Karl Marx. However, I do agree that there should be a parliament and a democracy. I also agree that education is very important and that everybody has the right to go to school.
I agree with the opinion of the leader of the socialists, that everybody should be equal. But I disagree with the opinion that everybody needs to share their things, because not everybody earns the same amount of money. If this was the case, nobody would no longer do their best at their work. I agree with freedom of production. I also agree with democracy in a country. It's good that everyone has the right to vote, and therefore to be able to influence how their country should be governed. I also agree with that it's a good idea to help to let the people remove the elected people at any time they want to. But I disagree with the opinion that it's good to end economy insecurity and exploitation. You can borrow tools. If one person has more tools than you can borrow it instead of getting it. Now I want to react on the leader of the workers. I don't think that the working conditions are important. It's good to have work because work is wealth. Everybody should have work to get wealth. I agree with being against child labor. Children need to go to school and have freedom of education. Everybody should know how to read and write, but as soon as they finish school, they need to work. I am against shorter working days, because the poor need to work to get their wealth. I agree with workers get the freedom to vote and being able to influence their country.
At first, I agree with the Liberals that the new constitution should include new laws, but with some laws I disagree. The Liberals wanted that citizens had the right to vote, but that the workers, women and peasants weren't allowed because they don't understand politics. I think this is preposterous. We understand politics, and if we have the right to vote, we can vote on political parties that support us. I also disagree with the law that not everyone has the same income. We as workers work a lot harder than rich men such as the factory owner. He only looks at us when we work, and he doesn't do anything. But he still gets a higher wage than us. Even though I disagree with these laws, I agree with most of them, and I definitely support the parliament and government. Now I want to say something about the socialists. Almost all of the workers support socialism. All their ideas are in our favor. We all agree that all people are equal. We may come out of a less wealthy family and we have a worse education, but we still are normal people, and we work as hard or even harder than the rich. Workers all support a democracy. If there's a democracy, we get the right to vote, and those decisions affect our lives. We agree with all the ideas of socialism, and we will definitely keep supporting them.
Important in the new constitution should be equal rights for everybody, shared ownership, a democratic chosen government, share in means of production, workers elect the representatives of the council of their industry or service, elected socialists in the government will be directly responsible, elected socialists can be removed at any time. I think my points are good for our people. If my points are used in the new constitution, it will affect a lot of people positively. That is why I should win the debate. Go.
If my points are used in the new constitution, the government should have less tasks. Slavery and child labor should be abolished. Freedom of education, religion and freedom for researchers, so they could study what they want. Everybody should be able to vote, and not everyone should earn the same amount of money. Children will get a better education. They therefore will become smarter than adults from now, which will lead to better jobs and more wealth. If we will also form one country if all citizens get the right to vote.
My point is that I want to ban child labor, give us better working conditions and the right to vote. I think my point is clear and it affects a lot of people. If my points are used in the new constitution, it will affect all the families who live in poverty. I'm sure it would make the Netherlands a better country. This is why I should win the debate.
Okay, I've heard enough. I came to the conclusion that the socialists win the debate because their points affect more people and they also look to the poor people. Now I close the debate.